What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Here we are again, another Sunday, another buffer time. Today we're talking about Caves, the Lower Decks 8th episode of the 4th season. We'll go around and introduce each other clockwise. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
Howdy, Robbie Sherman from Conversations with Robbie Sherman.
I'm Scott of the YouTube channel Opinions No One Cares About.
My name is Lieutenant Del Levy, and I am the conspiracy theorist.
Nice.
All right, well, we usually like to start with news. There's not a heck of a lot. At one of the Comic-Cons here, there was a quote that came out from Mike McMahon, and he was talking to Alex Kurtzman on the panel and just asked if they could do another crossover episode at some point. And he's like, yeah, sure. So, and like some news has taken it and run with it as, oh, we're going to get another crossover episode. Well, we'll see. It just means that they can. That would be nice.
I did hear a rumor, but it's not confirmed at all, that the fourth movie is back on once the actor strike is over.
Yep. In theory, and I still like, and it's still going to be this Kelvin timeline bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, God,
But hey,
just do a different movie.
it will be directed by Quentin Tarantino, though.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'd still love to see Quentin Tarantino's take on Trek. I know he's wanted to do it for a while.
So much feet you would get. Like there would never be a Star Trek.
You know, no whole new race of aliens that just have like 4 legs, so you get that many more feet.
Maybe it's Quentin Tarantino in the mystery ship.
Oh God, I hope so. At this point, it's anything. I love how you came up with about 1,000 different possibilities on Discord,
Yeah.
Del.
I'm still kind of leaning toward Naomi Wildman because I love pinning conspiracies on her. She's all grown up now and she's evil.
I still think it's like, if anybody needs a redemption, it's Kes. And the theme of this season seems to be redemptions. Kes needs a redemption.
If we do get a fourth Star Trek film in the Kelvin timeline, I do want it to be directed by Justin Lin again, because I thought his direction for Beyond was really good, like on just a movement level. Like, I know Beyond has its problems as a Star Trek movie. We could talk about those some other times. But Justin Lin is a fantastic action director, and there's a lot of good looking stuff in Beyond.
That's true.
Well, that was kind of the problem with that movie. All it was action. I mean, yeah, sure. If you want to go all Michael Bay and it's just action for the sake of action, great.
Hey, you could give him a better script and he would make a better movie. You know, he just did the job he needed to do for that script.
Oh.
Okay, Norman, that is awesome.
That's a good thought.
Okay.
Vendorians.
Like
Okay. So is that what you're saying, Norman? You think it's the Vendorians?
Seems a little bit unfair. I mean, it doesn't give. I don't think any of the races that have been whatevered by the mystery ship had a chance to prove themselves or anything. It's like they just show up. Oh, we have no power. Oh no, there goes the ship.
So my real thought about the mystery ship is what I'm calling the Voltron theory, which is that some race is trying to build the best starship. So they take like the cloak from the Klingons. They take their programming from the Bynars. They take their like exploration and maps from the Vulcans. Like, I feel like it's some sort of like Voltron theory where they're trying to build. And then I would not be surprised if it was the Packlets.
Yeah, I mean, that would make the most sense. They're the ones that build ships out of other ships. So, and that would be perfectly Lower Decks.
I hope your Voltron theory goes full effect and we get like a giant mech-like ship at some point. I love that so much. That's the one thing Star Trek never does is like mech suits, and I would love to see
But
that.
even if it is the Packlets, it's guaranteed to be, there's one very specific person here, because I don't think they would have taken the time to have pointed out in the first episode with the Klingons that
Yep.
there's one occupant aboard. So I think it's going to be somebody we know, and if it's the Packleds, I guess it's probably the one that made the airlock, the mess in airlock 15.
Is it going to have anything to do with the fact that this ship clearly looks like it has a face?
I hope so.
And how you're looking at it, it could be a smiley face, or it could be like a straight mouth face, or it could be a frown.
So as for the episode that we have here today, what was your favorite part of it? Because mine is right here, right up front. It's very simple and just awesome. I love Mariner just screaming, "Caves!"
Ooh, favorite part.
I think my favorite part was the moss until the truth was revealed. I just liked it as an evil character. It reminded me, like, again, it's a very big trope of Star Trek to have like some sort of growing thing actually be evil. It made me think of like the Enterprise episode when they're all sort of stuck in that web where they could psychically read each other. It reminded me a lot of that.
It reminded me, I like what Norman said here. I agree with that.
I don't know who Voxola is.
It's not a person, it's this episode of Enterprise.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
The space seamen, and they get caught in it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And they're kind of psychic. I kind of liked that, like, Boimler was willing, almost a little too eager to, just pull his pants off because Rutherford said so. Like, really, just act like, yeah, we're roommates. We had no secrets. We are bros.
Yeah, no, if I have a roommate, I'm not just pulling my pants off.
Depends on your roommate, I guess.
No, it's not happening.
So, little side tangent from this episode. Was Wolf 359 an inside job?
You can technically say it was.
Yeah, I mean, when that came up, I was like, he might not be wrong.
I mean, Picard, they got his knowledge, even though he didn't give it up willingly. So technically, yes.
I don't know. I've been against this guy since season 1, not just because I'm against conspiracy theorists in general, but when he's all, the Dominion War didn't happen, I'm like, at this point, like right now in canon, it's 6, maybe 7 years since the Dominion War ended. You can't just go around saying it didn't happen when Starfleet's still going to be packed to the brim full of Dominion War veterans.
He's like a
you don't know
Holocaust
conspiracy
denier.
theorists. I mean, QAnon member went and shot up attempted to shut up a pizzeria because there was a rumor that there was something happening in the
basement, and there's no basement.
I know. So like, I would trust conspiracy theorists to go like, that war was fake, but it's over now. We know it was real. No, it was all an inside job. It was a thing to get us all blood tested so they could use our DNA to do something. Like, I can easily see a conspiracy theorist going in that direction.
Okay, fine. Great. But where were you during the Dominion War? How long have you been in Starfleet?
That's true.
Well, clearly more than 10 years. He would have been part of it for sure. Now, here's the thing. Go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think this may be my favorite part of the episode because it feels very specifically like the writers, who I'm sure are all fairly left-leaning people, just kind of talking down to the shithead conservative Trek fans who are probably conspiracy addled as well too, and factors into some of their woke Trek nonsense.
Yeah, like the ones who seem to pop up like once a month saying this isn't real Star Trek.
I remember when Star Trek subjugated women. This isn't real Star Trek. Yeah, that's the type of people.
Here's the thing. I've seen a few other prominent Trek reviewers on this one say they really didn't like this because it felt off base for Star Trek to have this character at all. And to me, it's like, have you watched Star Trek? They have always tried to take the weirdness and things of the day and the problems that we're dealing with and contextualize it within Star Trek. And
Yeah.
this is a thing that we're dealing with today. And I don't think you could put a character better in Star Trek than Steve Levy. And then to have Boimler in this episode specifically, like, just poke at him about it. It's perfect. Go ahead, Dal.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
And he just
Sorry.
takes it, even though he outranks Boimler. What is that about?
Well, according to Boimler, he's been a lieutenant for a really long time. Like, he hasn't advanced.
Yeah.
And it could be because he's a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, they don't want him in the higher ranks, making them all look bad. Let me tell you, these guys, you don't want them up there in management.
I remembered what I was going to say. And I think if we're looking at Lieutenant Levy as being like off base, then I claim Barclay as being the sort of, the weirdness of that time was like poorly social geeks, basically. And so maybe that if we look at that as being sort of an addressing the problems of our time, I think Lieutenant Levy really falls into that category. But Levy was probably my favorite character in the episode, including the main four, because I love making conspiracies that make no sense. So that's why I fell in love with that character right away.
I even kind of like how there was the like little poke where he's like, oh, on this forum where we just kind of make stuff trade conspiracies. Like, he even knows that at least some part of what he's bought into isn't true. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, but not enough, because like they're having dinner with the Vandorians, and he's like, "We did not, as you put it, do the Klingon Civil War." You know, telling him straight out, and he's like, "Agree to disagree. You're telling me, and I don't believe you anyway."
Well, try to tell an anti-vaxxer that the vaccine is not going to, harm them in any way. They're not going to change their mind. Like, if they're at that point where they're not getting vaccinated against a giant, like, disease that's killing millions of people, what can you do?
Punch Andrew Wakefield in the dick.
I found this to be a weird conspiracy, though. Like, really? The doctor is not an EMH. All right. Sure.
Okay.
The only way I could see it is because of the mobile emitter. Because it's not well known as a piece of technology. And so him showing up in places where there are no hollow projectors would make me wonder.
Yeah, but then like there was that whole episode where he was back in the Alpha Quadrant.
That's true. That's
running
very
around
true.
with Andy Dick.
Yeah, the less said about Andy Dick, the better. Just so.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Andy
guy,
Dick's
what a
EMH.
human piece of trash.
Andy Dick's EMH is on my list of who's in the ship.
Why not? Because I mean, honestly, like our theory about Kess, I like that one, but also I do not want to see Jen Lane back. If you know anything about her criminal history going back the last 10 years, it's she got weird.
Damn.
Not like Andy Dick, but not also not that far off.
It's not fun to talk about, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically, I'm not going to get into it. So let's move on to the next question, which was, did Taana hate engineers before she was Tuvixed with Billups? Or is this a more recent thing?
See, I bought it as like she hates engineers because it's the one thing she can't fix. You know, as being a doctor, you kind of have this idea that you can fix everything, and the existence of engineers and what they do kind of proves that wrong. I love the ticker.
Yeah,
I can't even read the ticker. It's so small.
QAnon with like the Q highlighted. Q.
He's been in lower decks before.
You know, now that I just thought about that, that's probably one of the few like major tropes that's gone back to a lot of times in Trek. The Q. that we didn't touch on in this one. This episode wasn't just about all of the caves, but it seemed to touch on a ton of Trek's most overused tropes, like chronotons. What were the other ones? There was a couple other things that was like, wow.
Age generation between the old and young.
Yeah, that was one, but there was a couple other big ones that they go back to like often, and right now I'm not thinking of them off the top of my head.
I would say male pregnancy, but I really want to talk about that as a separate point. So just remember that I said male pregnancy.
No problem there. I
love how casual Rutherford is about his pregnancy after it happens. It's just so funny. He's just so casual about it. Like, yeah, I had a baby. It's like, you had a baby.
Let's just go to that next question. Have we normalized stories in which someone who identifies as male gets pregnant? How does this compare to the story of Trip's pregnancy?
That
was my question.
He happened to be watching when this part came on, and he just like, "Empreg," because he's all about, or at least was at one point, all about the Omegaverse. And I just looked at him and was like, yeah, it's not even the first time it's happened in Trek. I think I kind of blew his mind.
But it was like Taana wasn't shocked. Even Rutherford wasn't shocked. Like nobody was like, oh my God, you have probably a penis and you're pregnant. Like, whereas it was like a thing that they teased Trip endlessly about was him being a male who's pregnant. And whereas this one, like even the lower deckers didn't freak out. Like nobody had a reaction to the fact that Rutherford had a baby. And I like that.
Yeah.
I think, especially since we're now trying to use the word birthing person, since trans men can and have had children. So I feel like maybe that could be part of the trend, is now making it so that Rutherford's pregnancy is no big deal.
Yeah, it was definitely way better than that episode of Trip. That was just throwaway early 2000s trash TV.
I'm sure it was funny when it was on.
I definitely did feel.
No.
I just wanted to say that I really did feel like it wasn't like transphobic the way they did it. I didn't feel like it was mean spirited. I thought maybe they just had the right little button of comedy you could kind of push there without being mean spirited or offensive.
One of the only things I almost gave a dislike to in my main review video this week was that, so if Taana hadn't been there with laser scalpel in hand, what the hell would have happened to Rutherford? Because that baby had to come out pretty damn quick. There's no good answer for that.
Yeah, because I my first thing was explosion, but like, if someone can carry 8 babies, then the body could grow fairly large without busting open. So I don't think it's going to be an Aliens type thing.
And just in general, to have this power to like, just randomly put yourself into somebody else and then get born within seconds. Like that's interesting, but weird.
If I was Taana, I would never be able to look him in the face again. You know, like I had to birth these children that are just like, were just a dumb thing you did. Like, you didn't need to touch this person at all.
Oh, okay. Wait. No.
I mean,
okay, maybe I'm misremembering the episode if I am. I'm sorry, but it's just.
And actually, this was my other almost dislike of the week. Taana, don't hold that thing in your hand. If you're going to vaporize something, maybe don't hold it in your friggin' hand. Put it on the ground. You're going to phaser your friggin' arm off. God.
I'm just glad she had the option.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I have known many parents in my lifetime who wish that was a real thing that they could do.
Right here. I would have phasered so many diapers.
Yeah.
3 kids times how many diapers, they would all be vaporized.
I'm thinking about Norman's question here because I think it's hilarious.
This one, do Cations have one kid at a
question.
time? Or do they have litters?
Cations have litters. Oh, I love it.
I'm going to that.
Someone not us, go Google that and like go to Memory Alpha and see if they say.
Dear God, I hope it's like in Tiny Toons whenever you see Buster or Bab's family and there's like 500 kids running
Yep.
around a tiny little hole. I hope every time she goes home, there's just like 30 or 40 kids just bouncing off the wall.
I saw something about that. What was it? Way off
What,
topic.
Tiny Toons?
Yeah, a Tiny Toons reboot.
Yeah,
It's
they
stuck
have
in my
that.
mind because like this time around they made Buster and Babs twins.
Oh,
I was
yes.
like,
It's
okay.
it's a mess. It's a mess. People are unhappy with it. That's not this stream, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's real.
People being unhappy with a reboot? No.
Shut
People
the
being
door.
deservedly unhappy, yes.
The one reboot I was very
No.
happy about was Animaniacs, but that's because I'm a nerd.
That's about half good. They kind of got it
Yeah.
right.
This second reboot of Futurama is okay.
Yeah, that's about all I can give it. It's really got some moments that are frustrating.
Yeah.
Here's a weird tangent now that you just said that. Is Boimler, do you think Boimler is based on what's his name? The main character from
Fry or
Futurama?
Futurama?
Fry,
I don't
yeah.
think
Right?
Boimler isn't a slob. That's the thing I would point out the most is that Boimler is not so stupid as Fry, and he is not a slob in the same way. They are probably pretty clumsy as a similarity, but yeah, I don't think they work together that well in the same way.
I would say more like inspiration.
Yeah, that's what I
maybe.
meant.
Yeah, I
The
could
hair.
see maybe not trying to
Yeah,
make it exactly like that, but
Yeah.
make
And
make really
inspiration.
vague references.
Mhm.
If he ever says "shut up and take my money," then we'll know we're right.
Keep reading
Yes.
this backwards.
So overall, out of these 4 stories, which one did you enjoy the most?
I think my answer is super clear.
Conspiracy.
Yes, I liked, and I also liked the idea that Boimler specifically took like an outsider and like straight faced, dead on was like, this is why you haven't gotten a promotion, and this is why people don't like you. And I'm always a fan of the speaker of hard truths. And so I really liked that part of it too. The idea that, like, someone has to eventually go tell the smelly kid that they smell. And in this case, it would be Boimler. So I kind of liked that part of it as well. I mean, I love weird conspiracy theories. So, and I named myself today Lieutenant Levy, but I also liked the idea of Boimler as the speaker of hard truths, to show that maybe he's getting a little bit more courageous, a little bit more brave Boimler, that he's not afraid of the social repercussions of saying, this is why nobody likes you.
Yeah, I did want
That's
to see a
fair.
more bold Boimler. But at the same time, there's been multiple episodes, I think at least 3, where he's like pointed out straight up that, like, I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade. Like we know you don't need to, keep saying this. Like, what is he doing there?
Yeah. Lieutenant Junior Grade is just the assistant manager. You're not anything special.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah.
You get a quarter more in your paycheck and you work 20 more
I totally
hours
asked
a
a
week.
question about an Office reference that we'll get to when we get there.
I think for my favorite, I am going with Tendies. Come on, we get to lay in a pile half naked, and yeah, that sounds good. The friendship and camaraderie.
Right.
I really liked going back to the first episode and extending that story.
I only had one issue with that entire story, and it was the remark about peeing in the corner. I mean, even that shot shows they're in a circular space. What corner did they pee in?
I believe almost with all my heart that this is a reference to The Office. The episode is called Nepotism, but it's the one when Dwight and Pam are caught in the elevator and he's drinking from his Camelback. And then he, like, as soon as the elevator gets stuck, he's like, we have to declare a pee corner. And then he immediately pees in it. So I'm pretty convinced this is a very veiled Office reference.
I don't think it's something we should be worried about because unlike a regular live action Star Trek episode, this is a cartoon and we can just make things disappear if we have to.
I would also believe it because there are no toilets on any starship ever.
Yeah, I've never seen a toilet once in my life on any Star Trek series.
Well, not on the ship. We just saw one this season in Boimler's room on Franganar, which was in and of itself a unicorn in Trek.
That's another trope. People are getting caught in turbolift all the time. By this point in history, they should know, like, if people are going to be stuck in there for a while, we should offer some facilities.
Well, I think by that point in the future, we'll be in a post-shit world. Like, we will not have to go to the bathroom. We will not have to piss. It's all going to be taken care of for us by the AI, the ships.
We'll make food out of the replicators. The replicators need poop.
Yeah, it's Soylent Green for your shit.
It really is. It really is.
Conservation of energy and stuff. You know, you got to have input to make output.
What kind of contraband liquor did Mariner have again? Was it Romulan ale? I can't remember.
No, it was Saurian brandy.
Yeah, it had that weird bottle shape.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right, Norman.
It's actually very nice.
That
beautiful
stuff.
shade of blue.
You are probably right, Norman. They do probably phase the hell out of all their species and stuff. My favorite part of the episode was, I mean, as far as like the segments go, it probably was Rutherford and Taana, because that just felt like it escalated so quickly, and it also didn't go for the cheaper gags that you could have done with that. So it was a good winner. I was pretty happy with this episode all around. I like it when we get multiple stories in an episode like this around a framing device. Like I mentioned earlier, I think this felt a lot like a Community episode where we got like separate stories for every character, some that involved all the characters, some that didn't.
They kept recycling.
I don't know why, but I'm finding the crawl especially funny today.
Oh, what's the crawl say? I can't even read it on this.
I was totally on it.
Oh, it says Bears beats Star Trek.
Did you have something else you were trying to get in there, Scott?
Yes, that shot right there. You know, this whole thing was supposed to be kind of like a reference to the fact that back in, you know, the 90s or early 2000s, that they were always reusing kind of the same set for cave shots or for cave pieces. And this bit right here absolutely reminds me of the cave Mariner was in with Delta Shift, with that kind of, not a walkway, but kind of a ramp that went up to where the other Pergeum was. And the cave that Boimler was in with Levy, where at the top was that vehicle that Levy blew up.
All the caves look the same.
Yeah. They did it on purpose, I'm telling you.
And I also recognized like they were trying to reproduce some caves we've already seen. I think that when they were on that like podium, it reminded me of Odo talking to his secret informant, because they're in a cave-like thing for that. So it made me think of that. And then there are other shots that made me think of different cave episodes, but I don't want to go too deep into that because I really want to talk about what our favorite cave episodes are.
Yeah, we don't have too many more cool other questions before we get to that. Go ahead, Robbie.
I do have an observation to back up my post-shit world theory. We never, ever see anybody with just like a little pee stain on their pants ever. You know, the way those pants are set up, you know, no matter how much you shake and dance, it's gonna fall on your pants. You know, it never happens. There must be something more to this.
Well, I don't know what they cost these days, but I know uniforms in the TNG era were $10,000 each. So you don't pee. You just yes, it is a post shit world because these people, they do not pee when they are in those $10,000 freaking pants.
$10,000 for spandex and foam under hot lights. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that, Dustin. I feel so bad for those people.
Yeah, I've never understood how those uniforms average out to be $10,000 each, but they do.
The same way the government averages out a $10,000 toilet. That's how.
So where's Talin? We spent some good time on her for the first couple episodes of the season, and not even a background character in the things that happen.
Did she say anything about leaving the ship? Because it feels so weird. That's why I put her on my list of conspiracy theories about the ship. It's not really because I think that, but it would explain why she's been gone for so long.
I didn't even notice until you said it. I didn't even think about it. I don't even think of that as part of the main cast. But it does make sense. She should be there because we've done all this work already to build them up as a person who's going to be in the main cast. But I didn't even think about that until now. Yeah, that is very weird.
The only thing I can think of is if they're gonna write off or kill one of the top 4 and then replace her.
Well, one thing that I should have mentioned in the news part I had heard this week was that they'd announced that there's going to be a heavier dose of Talin in season 5. So
Okay.
She's not dead. She's not written off. She'll be there. But as to maybe killing off another character, that's a possibility. But I don't.
I will admit
I don't think you could do
a
Lower Decks.
I will admit I read that as a rumor. I didn't make it up myself, but I kind of like it.
I don't think you could do Lower Decks without those 4 main characters.
And
Rutherford is a ticking time bomb. That's all I have to say.
We can also just look at it. We can also just look at her as doing other things on the ship that don't involve them in that moment, because it's a big ship. There's 500, 600 people on that ship.
See, I would buy it if she came back and she was like, I just did a tour with the room that 7 of 9 lived in. Ash. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Astrometrics.
Yes, astrometrics. Because it's the one job that you're kind of always there. So if she came back and was like, I was in astrometrics, then I would believe that.
Oh, she might have gotten the holodeck duty and had to clean up everybody's waste.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they're past that now. They got promoted. That's
baby.
instant work.
Yes.
But I mean, Talin can be wherever she wants. She is, as she put it, Vulcan as a motherfucker.
Indeed. So here's just a weird little thing that we've never touched on in Lower Decks, but if there is a delta shift, then that implies the existence of a gamma shift, and the ship being on a 4-shift rotation. Why have we never seen or touched on the gamma shifters?
Yeah, it made me think of. I think it was Jellicoe who turned them.
Yeah, I was just thinking
turned them into forward shifts. I think.
Yeah, chain of command. He switched it from 3 to 4.
Yeah, that was what I thought of. Sorry.
But any theories why we have not seen a delta or a gamma shift, rather?
Probably because Paramount isn't paying for it. That's why.
So Alpha Shift I would assume would be first in the morning. They're the ones that show up at 9, let's say. And so Beta Shift, I think, would start at around between noon and 2 o'clock. So Gamma Shift would either be in the late afternoon or early evening. And I think we just haven't seen a lot of plots that fall into that timeline. I don't know.
I do hope we get a little more supporting characters throughout Lower Decks, because the name of it being Lower Decks implies that we would have all the entire Lower Decks being brought out and kind of paraded a little bit. But we really only get put together on these 4 people that are our Scrubs core. core.
Yeah, and just the fact that Delta Shift was in this episode, and how they were and how Mariner was kind of bonding more with them, made me think, is there going to be a Delta Shift based episode at some point in the future?
I would love one.
Yeah, me too.
I also think Norman could be on the money with the
said?
idea that it's like the Bajoran who went and pretended to be a prisoner. I don't remember the name of the episode. She was the one in
Lower Decks.
Yes.
Oh,
The
right.
episode was Lower Decks.
That's a pretty good point you made there, Norman. A regular Starfleet ship has only stellar cartography.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, fair.
All right, we are getting down to it. Let's start with, what is your least favorite cave episode across Star Trek?
Oh.
So many memorable ones. Mine's not actually an episode. I'm going to go with the whole thing in Insurrection, where they led the people into the caves, and that movie and that whole thing can just go fuck itself.
Yeah, I'll just take yours
fair.
and leave it at that.
I don't like the episode in Deep Space Nine. I should have researched episode titles, but when Odo is stuck with Kira as she's turning into a rock,
like that. Okay.
and then they turned it around and made it the female changeling. Like, I'm not a big fan of like late surprises that change the entire episode. I mean, I kind of liked it, but it's just not it's not a trope I like. Yes, the one where he's on Ryza.
Yes.
And they do like they get together in the cave, and then that's where the MacGuffin was. Yeah.
Dustin, you muted.
What Norman's talking about, though, is season 7 TNG, the episode Liaisons, where it's in a crashed ship, though. It's not a cave. But it's a similar idea, and it's
okay. I remember the Leslie
episode.
episode.
So bad.
Oh, that's the one where Picard is like being forced into a relationship, right?
Yeah, and it's not even really a chick. It's just like a kind of shape-shifting entity. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bad episode.
Weird. Yeah, it's all weird.
But it's not a cave. It's a crashed ship, so but basically the same thing. Any more least favorites? Did we cover everybody's?
I haven't even had an opportunity to look through the cave episodes. I've been so busy this week. So.
I just looked for ones that I liked.
No, that's fair. I just thought I'd toss it in there as a
Sure.
starter question. So, what is everybody's favorite cave episode? Well, mine it was almost the one that Dell said that he didn't like. I thought about that first, the Odo and Kira one. That's pretty good. Oh God, what did I? Somebody else go, because now I forgot what my actual favorite is. I came up with one better.
I picked a couple so that I had backups in case someone picked mine. But I think my number one, and it might not count as a cave episode, is the one where Tuvok has a shuttle crash, and he meets a bunch of children who are afraid of the monster in the cave.
Okay.
That I really like. But it's not quite what we're looking for cave episodes, but it was one that had a cave I really liked.
Yeah, because you don't even go into it. You see them go into it, I think, at the very end, but it doesn't take place in the cave or anything.
Yeah, but I like the idea of a cave being the bad of the week.
Yeah. I don't know. I gave this as much thought as I could, which wasn't a lot considering I've been heavy into editing. The only one that stuck in my mind that was actually a cave-based episode was never going to remember the title, but I'm going to start talking about it, and at least two of you will figure it out immediately. Picard's taking Wesley to the academy, and the shuttlecraft crashes.
That was on my list too.
Thank you. And they're stuck in a cave, and they bond. And Wesley gets to be all smart and energy thing to get.
That's what I really liked about it, was the idea that Wesley solved a puzzle.
Maybe
this was the one I was trying to think of. Cisco and Ducat.
That's a good one.
That is the best cave episode, hands down, easily.
I love Ducat going crazy. Just like he is doing everything he can not to show that he's absolutely going crazy in this cave with Cisco, to the point to where he just like breaks right in front of Cisco.
Yep.
You can't hide it at all, and he doesn't even know what he's doing. That's great.
The third one on my list, again, I should have looked up episode titles. When B'Elanna goes into Ponfar, and so they're spelunking in a cave, and at first she's like, I can do everything. I'm gonna do this faster and better than you. And then the episode turns into this thing where she's trying to convince Tom to just fuck her and get it over with.
Yeah, that got weird fast.
But I like weird episodes, so that's why I liked it.
Hey, that was some prime Berman trap back in the day.
Yeah.
It's actually maybe the best look at Ponfar, and it still wasn't good.
Yeah.
I have one more on my list if nobody else has any more.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Voyager episode when the Kazon kick them out, and they're on the planet with like the shaman-looking people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing is when Janeway was like, then turn over rocks and eat the fucking bugs and shut up about it. So that's why I like that episode.
I would like to say, since you mentioned it, and I didn't really have a great response for either of these questions, the one where Wesley and Picard get trapped in a cave and they have this whole bonding experience.
Can I not?
I hate almost anything. I hate almost anything like that in Trek because it always just feels so ponderous, and I know what the beats are going to be every time they go into it, and by the time I get to the end of it, it's just like, man, I just spent like an hour of my life watching this kid get talked down to by a British asshole.
Yeah, it was really dry. I mean, it was a nice moment for Wesley and Picard. It's not like the worst episode in the history of ever, but I don't think it's great.
There are far worse Star Trek elements than Wesley and Picard bonding, but yeah, it just does not do anything for me on a level. I can respect it, as giving Wesley a win because he doesn't often get wins.
So here's something that I missed in my review, and I didn't even see anybody else talk about, but was the whole thing with the cave baby actually a callback to Voyager when Neelix and Paris have to take care of that like lizard baby?
Yeah, that was going to be my next cave episode that I wrote down as being sort of one of the weird ones, and I like weird ones where they find the dinosaur baby and they have to kind of they decide who they are, like godparent, mom, dad, whatever, and the whole episode being weird. But I also like any episode with Tuvok and Neelix in it. I just love their chemistry and how
that was Paris and Neelix because they were fighting over Kess. That was like the B plot going on during the whole thing, and they like bonded over the cave baby rather than fighting about who was gonna bang the 2-year-old.
You could be right.
Now, if I remember correctly, that lizard baby was done by the Jim Henson Creature Shop.
If it wasn't, it looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it looking very Muppety on a certain level.
It was. It was one of the least realistic looking.
Well,
right.
Anything that looks Muppety to me is always a bonus. Like, as long as it doesn't look like bad puppet, if it looks like a Muppet, then that's better.
Yeah. So Dell had one more question here, and it's pretty basic. I'm going to kind of reword it. So since we didn't have the mystery ship in the last 2 episodes, do you think it's because the last 2 episodes are going to focus on it?
Undoubtedly.
I think it's going to be a 2-parter.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so, Dustin?
Really?
It could be just because since the beginning of the season, they've kept the names of the last 2 under wraps. So it could be, but I don't think we're going to resolve it to the last one, and this next one will just be another one-off episode. But
yeah, they're like really holding back though, not just with the episode titles. I've seen some things where there have been some people who are screeners who've been able to see some of the episodes ahead of time, who I don't think have still seen the last 2 yet. So it kind of seems like they're going to bring it all together with these last 2, and they're like super important.
That would explain why I haven't seen any full season recaps from any media outlets, because sometimes these media outlets will just do a full season like as one cap instead of doing it episode by episode.
Yeah, and unless
Okay.
anybody has any other fun questions, I think we're gonna move to out of tens. All right. Well, this one is absolutely the hardest one to give a number to for me this season. My first time through it, I'm like, it's a perfect 5. It's merely serviceable. I have no dislike. There's nothing I really dislike about this episode. It's not like the best episode ever, but it doesn't have anything wrong with it. But the more times I watch it, the camaraderie and the friendships and the little pieces and blazing a ton of new lore. I can't believe that we went to 4 planets and not a one of them is a callback to anything else. It's all brand new, despite going through the most well-worn tropes in all of Trek. So I'm gonna give it a 7. It's a perfect 7.
I think my gut tells me I want to give this an 8 because I had such a good time watching it. I haven't had time to do a second rewatch just because of other issues, but I really liked the fact that not only were we engaging with older Trek tropes, we were creating new lore to branch out these Trek tropes with, and I think that's a thing Lower Decks is very capable of doing. They're an animated property; they don't have to create crazy amounts of sets and makeup work for all their actors, so it leaves the possibilities a little more open. Um, I do think maybe like the emotional moments in this show always feel a little packed to me. And I think maybe that might be partly because of the 22-minute format, but I also just think they want to have a happy ending more often than not somehow, even if I feel like it's a little too fast. Maybe a 7.5 is a better score. I haven't gotten to do a rewatch. We'll just go with 7.5. Is that great?
Okay.
Now go ahead, Scott, please.
I'm actually going to go with an 8.5.
Oh,
I do enjoy the camaraderie between the characters. It was nice to see, based on Tendy's story, that they like really bonded from the very beginning. You do see plenty of tropes being kind of done in this episode, but not only are they done well, I mean, this is Lower Decks. They know how to use the tropes and the references and make them into good episodes. And I mean, some good cave stories, and a lot, like everybody's saying, a lot of additional lore, and introducing stuff like I'm pretty sure they've had carnivorous moss before, but not like this. So yeah, I'll definitely go with 8.5.
So I was like Dustin, my brain is fried. All right, so I'm like Dustin in that I wanted to give it a 5. Because it was entertaining to watch, but at no point was I like on the edge of my seat or like laughing and having a good time, except for maybe Lieutenant Levy, which is why that story is my favorite. But I'm gonna give it a 6, and it's Norman's fault because I forgot about the callback to TAS, and I love TAS, so I'm gonna give it a whole point for reviving something from TAS.
let me ask you, Dill. Do you feel the same way that they kind of go for a pat emotional ending a lot of the time on this show?
It would have been fun to see like 2 of the 4 get into a little bit more of a fight so that the ending felt more important. But there really wasn't. There was like, I can't believe you hang out with Levy, or I can't believe you like Delta Shift or
Delta
whatever.
Shift,
right?
But like, I was really looking for like 2 of them to just get into a real fight over like either who had the better cave story or like, I can't believe you, Rutherford, for not telling us you had a baby. Like, I wanted to see a little bit more friction so that the end felt more cathartic.
Yeah.
You know what would have been good to see and brought up the score even more? If that last cave story had been told.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think.
Tendy's cave story.
I don't know Tendy's cave story. Which one?
He's like, where we remember we were in that cave and then we met
Our-
ourselves.
yeah, I want to know
right.
about that, and I was really hoping that Mariner was going to tell her sentient cave story, but
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
but also, I
That's
mean,
a
at the
dark
same
place.
time, that bridging the gap between them and Delta Shift is also, I mean, that's great.
We
Yeah.
could have
It was
got
really
some
nice.
more bad boy Rutherford that way too, and I would have wanted to see that. I love the bad boy Rutherford when he's like all evil,
Yeah.
self-serving.
I'm watching Rutherford because he, like I said, he's a ticking time bomb, and I love when a background, like not a background character, he's obviously not, but like a random character that no one knows about who's a ticking time bomb. Like I love that sort of friction, so that's why I think I like Rutherford so much. Is I'm
And he's
always
just
looking
so-
at him, being like, did he proc? Did he come out? Did his ability change? Like, what's going on with that?
And he's just so happy and content all the time too. That's what makes him so funny to me as a character. When they finally added that layer of him being a ticking time bomb, and he's just continually happy, never condescending person.
One thing I'm noticing, and maybe it's just because I was the only one during the episode where they got, where him and Tendi got paired up and forced to be a couple, where I was the only one that was like, I think there's something there.
There's
And
something
all you
there.
guys are like, no. But
No,
the
I-
more the season goes on, there's just these little things where it's like, oh, well, Tendi would, and they just kind of play off each other. And I think what they're building towards is they do want to and can be a couple, but they're going to do it on their terms. They're not going to be forced into something that they're not. And I think organically getting there, that's going to make it a really nice payoff at some point.
I
Probably
would be
season
so
5.
much happier if one of them is in love with the other, but the other does not reciprocate. Like one of them just want to stay friends. And I would pick Rutherford as being the one that won't reciprocate because he doesn't think that way.
I think
don't
you're
think so.
underselling him. I think you're
Okay.
underselling him because he's the one specifically that I'm noticing. Like, oh well, what would Tendi think of me for? I can't even remember. There's a couple little moments in the last few episodes that have been like, huh.
I always thought from the beginning of the series that they were supposed to be paired up together. There was just so much. They made so much chemistry with them from the beginning of the series. I kind of thought there was something more going on. And, if they do work it out in a natural way to get them together, then I'm fine with that. If they don't ever do that, that's fine too.
What Norman's saying, what I don't want it to become is a callback to Bashir and Ezri in the final friggin' episode. That would really kind of irk me, actually.
No, thank you.
Oh, I'm gonna chase this person across the entire series right from the beginning, and then we're finally gonna get together at the very end. I hate that.
Yeah.
I never liked Ezri and Bashir as a couple because he wants her because he misses Jadzia.
Yeah.
Like I love Ezri as a character, but I think he hooked up with her because he thought this was his second chance at Dax.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. So, well, I see we actually have a few viewers here tuned in. Before we get out of here, we're coming to the end of Lower Decks, obviously. We're looking for ideas. What do you guys want to hear us talk about in the off time between now and whenever the hell Discovery decides to pop up next spring, maybe? We've got
I'm
a few
looking forward
ideas.
to, we had already decided, but I'm desperately looking forward to our review of Subspace Rhapsody. Because we weren't doing reviews during that time, and we had some very different views on it.
Yeah, I was just going to announce some of the things we were going to do. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about those old scientists, the Lower Decks crossover. Great. We missed out on that. We missed out on Subspace Rhapsody. We've definitely got some differing opinions, and I cannot wait to dig into that. We'll do a Lower Decks Season 4 recap, probably. But other than that, we don't have a lot of ideas. So
I like
what
Norman's
you guys want to hear, we
suggestion.
want to hear.
I like
think we
Norman's
gotta do Cloak of
suggestion.
War.
Suffer time viewers, if you want to know what I think about Mirrorverse people, let us know. Like, please.
I think we
I
should
want-
do a whole thing on the mirror universe. And
Oh,
I
whether
want
it's
to
definitely.
talk about goatees. I want to have long conversations about goatees. Those sexy,
Beard
beautiful
oil.
things. Yes. Oh, let's get it. Okay, I gotta get going, guys. Sorry to cut out early.
That's all right.
Yeah, I was
Right,
just gonna
right.
wrap up anyway. So
Yeah.
thanks,
cool.
Robbie.
Yeah.
Hey, love y'all. Have a good day.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here in general, so thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks to all my co-hosts for joining. Did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I have two
Go ahead.
things.
Go ahead.
So, one, this T-shirt was an anonymous birthday gift. So I'm thanking whoever it was that sent it to me, because how much more appropriate could it be? So I wanted to thank
That is
that person.
awesome.
And also, my sister's birthday is coming up. So I wanted to say happy birthday, Blue Nightmare. I love you.
And this is where we sing for She's a Jolly Good Fellow because of copyright.
No, but happy birthday's out now. You can use it.
Is it? I thought
Yeah,
it still had like another 10 years or something.
Nope, it's out.
Okay.
You can use it
Very cool.
without royalty problems.
I remember that.
Good to know.
Hmm.
All right. So you're all caught up?
Yes.
now? We're good? All right. Yeah, thanks for showing us that shirt. That is awesome. Whoever got that for you. And if anybody knows if this is this an official piece of merch? Because I haven't seen it anywhere.
Yeah, that's the whole shirt. It's little faded to look retro, but it doesn't feel like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a decal or an iron-on. It feels like silk screening.
Oh.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll be back with you with whatever we get out of Lower Decks this week. We don't even have an episode title. So stay tuned next Sunday. Until then, Buffer Timers, live long and prosper.